What's good, family? Welcome back to the Unfiltered Soul 831. I'm Ruben 831, and around here we have the conversations most people are afraid to have. No fake motivation, no pretending life's easy, just honest conversations, real stories, and lessons earned the hard way. So, wherever you're listening from, I'm glad you're here. Now, let's jump into part two of this episode. Last time I left you sitting in that cell with me, 17 years old, facing charges serious enough that the state was trying to send me into the adult system. 25 years to life. At 17, I didn't fully understand what 25 years even meant. I understood the number, but I couldn't really comprehend the weight of it. 25 years meant my 20s would be gone. My 30s would be gone. Most of my 40s would be gone. My little brother would grow up without me. My parents would get older while I sat behind walls. The whole world would keep moving, and I would be stuck in the exact same place. That thought stayed in my head every damn night. I fought my case for 8 months. 8 months inside Santa Clara Juvenile Hall, B9 maximum security. 8 months of court dates, attorney visits, promises, arguments, waiting, and more waiting. That's one thing people don't understand about being locked up. A lot of it is waiting. Waiting for court, waiting for your lawyer, waiting for a phone call, waiting for a visit, waiting for someone else to decide what the rest of your life is going to look like. You're alive, but your life doesn't belong to you anymore. Every time they took me to court, I would sit there listening to grown adults talk about my future like I wasn't even in the room. They used legal words, numbers, charges, sentencing possibilities, but all I heard was, "You might never have a normal life." My parents were going through hell too. People forget that part. When one person gets locked up, the entire family does time, just in different places. I was behind the walls, but my parents were dealing with attorney fees, court dates, stress, fear, embarrassment, wondering whether their son was ever coming home. My dad eventually fired my first attorney. He felt like the man was taking their money and not doing shit for me. And when your life is sitting in somebody else's hands, that feeling will drive a family crazy. The second attorney came in, worked the case, and eventually got me a deal. I wasn't transferred into the adult system. I stayed in the juvenile system. At the time, that felt like a victory. And compared to 25 years to life, it was. But then the sentence came. 7 years in the California Youth Authority, CYA, a place a lot of people know by another name, Gladiator School. And believe me, there was a reason they called it that. My first stop was Preston, reception. Preston is in Ione, California. I remember arriving there, looking around, seeing the big red Preston castle, and realizing this wasn't juvenile hall anymore. This was something different. The fences were higher, the buildings felt colder, the energy was different. You could feel it before anybody even said a word. Everybody was watching everybody. Where are you from? Who do you know? Who do you run with? Nobody handed you a welcome packet explaining how to survive. You learn by watching, by listening, and sometimes by getting thrown directly into it. On my second day there, I got into a fight. Second damn day. I hadn't even learned the routine yet. I barely knew where anything was. And already, I was fighting. Staff came in, I got sprayed, gassed, and sent to lockup. Tamarack. I spent about a week there, then they sent me back to my dorm on Fur Lodge. I hadn't even been back for a few hours when I got into another fight with the same person. Same thing, sprayed, gassed, back to Tamarack. Another week in lockup. Then I came back again. And that same night, while we were waiting to shower, I got into another fight. This time with two guys. One of my homies jumped up and fought beside me. His name was Crash. He was from Salinas Acosta Plaza too. Same neighborhood, same mentality, same understanding that where we came from, you don't let somebody stand alone. So, within my first month at reception, I had already been involved in 3 gang-related fights. 3 in 1 month. And back then, I probably would have told that story like it proved something. Like it showed how tough I was. Like it meant people couldn't mess with me. But now, I look back and I see something completely different. I see a scared 17-year-old kid who only knew one way to respond to pressure. Fight. Somebody challenges you, fight. Somebody disrespects you, fight. Somebody looks at you wrong, prepare to fight. Because where I came from, walking away didn't feel like maturity. It felt like weakness. And weakness could make you a target. So I carried that mentality with me through every gate. I thought survival meant always being ready to hurt somebody before they had the chance to hurt me. People think fighting makes you tough. You know what it really makes you? Tired. Tired of always watching your back, always wondering who's mad, always wondering what was said when you weren't around, always wondering whether something was going to happen in the shower, the hallway, the yard, a blind spot where the staff couldn't see. Your body might sit down, but your mind never rests. That's not peace. That's survival. And when survival becomes your entire personality, you forget how to live any other way. After about 3.5 months at Preston, I was transferred to DeWitt Nelson Correctional Facility in Stockton. New place, same rules, same tension, same questions. Where are you from? Who do you know? I got into a couple more fights there too, because I was still carrying the same anger, the same pride, and the same belief that every problem had to be answered physically. But after a while, some of the older homies started schooling me, teaching me how things worked inside. And let me be clear, I'm not saying it was some healthy environment. It wasn't. I'm not saying the lessons were always right. They weren't. But there was a structure. There were rules. There was an understanding that unnecessary chaos could create problems for everybody. See, if 2 people had an issue, sometimes they would talk it out. Sometimes they would set something up in the blinds, handle it away from the staff. And after it was done, it was supposed to be done. That was the mentality. Respect mattered. Your word mattered. How you carried yourself mattered. But looking back now, the biggest lesson wasn't about how to fight. It was learning that every emotion didn't have to become an explosion. Every disagreement didn't need to become a war. Sometimes strength was keeping control of yourself. That lesson took me a long damn time to understand. Honestly, I'm still learning it now, just in different situations. Because you can leave the yard, you can leave the gang environment, leave the institution, and still react to relationships, arguments, disrespect, and betrayal. Like you're trapped behind those walls. The location changes, the survival response doesn't. Not unless you work on it. People ask me sometimes, were you scared? Hell yeah, I was scared. Anybody who tells you they weren't scared walking into a place like that at 17, they're either lying or they've lied to themselves for so long, they believe it. But fear looks different in there. You don't cry in front of everybody. You don't tell people you're homesick. You don't admit you're wondering whether your family is okay. You hide it. You laugh. You joke. You talk shit. You act like nothing bothers you. You build a wall around yourself inside a place already surrounded by walls. That's the crazy part. You start serving two sentences, the one the judge gave you and the one you build inside your own head. The hardest part wasn't always the fights. It wasn't the food. It wasn't even somebody telling me when to wake up, when to eat, when to shower, when to move, when to stand, or when to sit down. The hardest part was nighttime, because during the day, there was noise, movement, people talking, programs, school, arguments, staff calling orders. You could distract yourself, but at night, everything slowed down. The unit got quiet and your mind got loud. That's when I thought about home, my parents, my little brother, what they were doing, whether they were okay, whether they were thinking about me, whether life was moving on without me. And the truth is, it was. Life doesn't stop just because yours does. Birthdays still happen, Christmas still came, people get older, families change, your little brother grows up, friends move on, the neighborhood keeps moving, and you're stuck watching life pass through letters, phone calls, and visits that never feel long enough. You know what hurt me the most? My family kept living and I wasn't there for any of it. That sounds selfish when I say it now, because of course I wanted them to live. But when you're locked up, part of you feels left behind. You wonder whether people are slowly learning how to live without you. You wonder whether one day the phone won't ring, whether one day the letters will stop, whether one day nobody will come to visit. Those thoughts will mess with your head. Visits were probably the hardest. You spend days waiting for them, sometimes weeks. You mark it in your head. You imagine seeing your parents. You start thinking about everything you want to say, how sorry you are, how much you miss them, how much you love them. Then the visit finally comes, and you are shackled up, treated like an animal, separated by glass, metal bars, rules, a telephone. You can see the people you love, but you can't really be with them. You can't just reach across and hug your mom. You can't grab your dad and tell him you're sorry. You can't walk out the door with them when it's over. And then somebody says visits is finished. Just like that. The time you've been waiting for is gone. You watch your family stand up. You watch them walk away. And you're the one who has to turn around, still shackled, and walk back inside. I don't give a damn how tough somebody thinks they are. That shit hurts every single time. And when you get back to your room, you replay the visit in your head. What they said, what they didn't say, the look on your mom's face, how much older your dad looked, how your little brother was changing, Then the lights go out and you're alone with all of it. But here's something that might sound crazy to people who've never been locked up. Some of the biggest laughs I've ever had in my life were in there. I know how that sounds. People hear that and think you're saying that prison was fun. Hell no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying human beings adapt, even in dark places. Especially in dark places. You find ways to survive. You build friendships. You joke around. You clown each other. You tell stories. You find something stupid to laugh about. Because if you don't, the darkness starts eating you alive. Sometimes laughter is the only freedom you have left. For a few minutes, you forget where you are. You forget how much time you have. You forget the fence, the guards, the case. You just laugh. And for that moment, you feel human again. Some people will never understand that. But the ones who lived it, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't that those were the best circumstances of my life. They weren't. It was that some of the people around me understood me without needing an explanation. We were all carrying something. Different stories, different pain, different charges, different families. But underneath all that, most of us were young men who had never learned what to do with our anger, our fear, or our hurt. So we wore toughness like an armor, because nobody ever taught us that being honest about pain could also be strength. Being locked up stripped everything away from me. No cruising, no weed, no girls, no running around, no pretending I was somebody I wasn't, no hiding behind a reputation, no neighborhood to impress, no freedom to distract myself. It was just me. And eventually, I had to meet myself. Not Ruben from Salinas Acosta Plaza, not the guy people thought was tough, just me. The scared kid, the angry kid, the kid who never really got a childhood, the kid who thought respect was more important than peace, the kid who made one decision and put his entire future in somebody else's hands. Facing that person was harder than any fight I got into, because you can fight another man and eventually the fight ends. But when you're fighting yourself, you take that battle everywhere. I spent a lot of nights asking myself questions. Who am I? Who am I becoming? How did I get here? Did I really want to live this way forever? What was waiting for me if I ever got out? Would I actually change? Or would I go right back to the same life? At 17, 18, 19 years old, I didn't have the answers. Hell, I barely understood the questions. But those questions planted something in me, a seed. It wasn't fully grown, not even close, but it was there. That's the thing about change. People think it happens all at once. Like you wake up one morning, see the light, and become a completely different person. That wasn't my story. My change started with little cracks. A night I couldn't sleep, a visit that hurt more than usual, a conversation with somebody older, a moment of regret, a realization that maybe the road I had been walking wasn't leading anywhere good. Change didn't start with motivation. It started with honesty. Painful, uncomfortable, no more bullshit honesty. I was sentenced to 7 years, but I ended up serving about 3.5. By the time parole came around, I thought I had life figured out. I thought I had paid my debt. I thought I had learned my lesson. I thought walking out those gates meant the hard part was behind me. Man, I couldn't have been more wrong. Because nobody warned me about what happens when you come home. Nobody warned me that freedom can feel unfamiliar. Nobody explained that you can leave the institution but still carry the institution inside you. The anger comes home, the pride comes home, the survival mentality comes home, the belief that you always have to prove yourself, that comes home too. The walls stayed behind, but some of the thinking walked right through the gate with me. And 3 months after I was released, I found myself wearing handcuffs again. 3 months. I couldn't even make it to New Year's. That's when I learned one of the hardest lessons of my entire life. Sometimes getting out of prison is a whole lot easier than getting prison out of you. And that's where we'll pick up in part 3. Because the next chapter wasn't about surviving behind the walls anymore. It was about surviving the choices I kept making after I got out. It was about going back to county jail, learning who really belonged in my life, trying to build relationships without understanding my own trauma, 2 failed marriages, emotional abuse, becoming a single father, and finally realizing that the little boy who never felt safe had grown into a man responsible for making 2 little boys feel safe every single day. That is where the real transformation began. I'll see you in the next part.